Woohoo! Welcome to Conversations with Beth, where curiosity meets connection. I'm Beth Lees. I'm a spiritual explorer, a passionista, a lover of deep, meaningful conversations. This podcast is all about getting to know amazing people doing wonderful things in the world in a fun and intimate way through interesting questions that spark laughter, insight, and sometimes those holy shift moments when your perspective changes. So get comfy, open your heart, and let's dive into some real soulful conversation. I am super excited to and honored to welcome Vicky Cook to today's episode. She's fierce, she's wise, and she's deeply soulful. Vicky is someone who has walked through fire and emerged with a powerful message of truth, transformation, and radical self-love. Her work is rooted in lived experience, and she knows what it means to face yourself, all of yourself, and to choose healing over hiding. She's been both literally and metaphorically imprisoned, and through that journey, she has discovered the kind of inner authority, acceptance, and freedom that only comes from doing the deep work. Her story is one of courage, clarity, and surrender. She's a beacon to those who are ready to stop fighting with themselves and start loving themselves, all of themselves. That's a tall order, Miss Vicky. You've said that in order to see into your heart, you've had to be able to accept every single morsel of your life. That is a powerful truth. So let's dive into the deep end of the pool. And can you take us into that moment, or maybe it was a season in your life, when you truly began to understand what radical acceptance meant for you? And when did that shift begin?
Ooh. Oh gosh. First off, can you send me what you just wrote? Because
Yes,
I
of
sound
course I can.
amazing. I was like, wow, I sound amazing.
You are amazing.
I am amazing. I am stepping into my amazingness. So that radical acceptance, for me, it's almost like, um, how like you kind of build walls most of your life, when
Yeah.
you're in trauma, in trying to create safety, trying to navigate hard things. For me, I think it's been taking that wall down brick by brick. So I think the first brick started to come down when I went to prison. That's when my spiritual life began, though I probably wouldn't have said that at the time.
Well, hindsight gives us great perspective.
2020, babe.
So, how have you been taking down those bricks?
It has been. My son said to me the other day, he said, Mom, it's like you've lived four lives to everybody else's one. And which, I think because I'm always just living, I don't really see it that way, but it is, I think the first thing was like I love the phrase radical acceptance. It was that slow journey of, I think, beginning, and it probably began. There was a therapist in prison that I had for one or two sessions, who said to me something like, the only way that you're going to be able to move forward and not repeat all the patterns of your life is to tell the truth. And that's where I began to tell the truth. Like, I think it was the first time I discussed some of the abuse I experienced in childhood. Um, the where I realized for the first time I didn't really even know what love was at that point in my life.
Wow, that's big.
So that would have been the first, I think, step or first moment where everything started to turn. I think I pulled that day. That was probably the heaviest brick, where I picked it up and took it off the wall and put it down.
That's huge. So, you
Yeah,
actually discovered your freedom in prison.
I did.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, so what are some of the tools that you use to like take down those pricks?
Um, they're Reiki, meditation, um, nature, like being in the world. So I always find it interesting that I feel more of myself when I'm in the world. So when I'm in nature, when I'm looking at water, when I'm walking, when I'm physically in my body, I'm a yoga teacher and I like exploring like movement. I'll tell you, and there's been so much study over my life, and I've had a lot of really great teachers. But I think what's happened, especially over the last couple of years, is my spirituality has simplified.
Mm,
Um, where every morning when I wake up, I ask myself, what is it I need? And then I listen for the answer. And some days it's a walk, and some days it's a deeper, longer seated meditation. Sometimes it's readings. I recently, like the whole month of July, I was picking higher self oracle cards every day. So I'm, I like to think of myself as a spiritual explorer.
I love
Um,
that.
I'm not a linear person, so a set practice every day doesn't work for me. But, and I will say this, it was all those set practices, right? My Reiki training, my years of training to be a Reiki master and work with my Reiki master, all those meditations and practices, they were beautiful. Doing a lot of the law of the universe work for a couple of years. I chanted a mantra for a year every day for 20 minutes. So I have a lot of um, I don't want to say confined, but kind of container, what I call them container practices,
Yep.
where I practice something that's like a container for me to, pull from every day.
And it
And
sounds like you did a deep dive into all of those practices.
I
So it wasn't
did.
just skimming the surface of each practice, it was diving
No,
deep into each practice.
it was diving deep into each practice. So I don't want it to sound like I'm, you know, just do whatever the fuck you want. Sorry, I swore.
You
But
can use that word.
I always swear. It's part of my punk nature. But the idea is that I came to all of those practice, and a lot of them felt they were never the whole thing for me. They were never the whole package, but having those containers to slowly take bricks down. And I don't even know why. I don't think I've ever used this metaphor before, so this is new for me.
I
But
love it.
like taking the bricks down, and revealing more of myself every time, slow and steady. And those containers were safe for me,
Right.
which was what I needed. I needed safety in order to heal. It took me a long time to understand that people need a safe, you can't heal anything if you don't feel safe.
That's right.
Um, and I think maybe I knew it intuitively, but I'd never used those words until a few years ago. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's it. And then, my yoga practices was something that so most people come to yoga first before meditation. I did not.
Of course not.
No. Um, so I then was led to more of the body practices, which helped heal a lot of the trauma that I held within my body. Um, and it's just been a beautiful journey ever since. I mean, I'd like to say it's never been easy, but I've never regretted the dark times. Right? And
Mm,
I am a soul that's full of dark and light. And I don't deny any part of either. Um,
I think they're important to dance with both of them.
I agree. And that's exactly what they are. They're dances. And they've always allowed me to make the hard decisions,
Mm,
the hard choices. to choose choose me over comfort.
Right.
And that might sound strange to people, but I at 57, I'm now entering a new another phase of my life. And I don't know if I would say that the whole brick is the whole wall is down, but there's just a few bricks at the bottom that I still have to step over,
Right.
you know. And maybe they'll never be gone, but the climb is much easier, and the choices to that I make where I choose me over trying to be something in the world to other people. Like if you're not authentic yourself, and I don't love that word because it gets overused a lot,
Yeah.
but if you're not truly yourself, you can't be anything to anybody else.
That's
So
right.
if you're staying in relationships or doing things that you're always doing because you feel like that's what's best, it's it's never going to be what's best. And there's a saying I love where you have to give up the good for the better of the best.
I love that expression.
Yeah.
You have
So
to give up the
the good
good
for the
for the better
better
of the
of the
best.
best. I know it sounds a little crazy, but
No, it's
it makes so
awesome.
much sense in my mind. So something can seemingly be good. I left a long marriage with somebody who I loved very much and who was a dear friend, but I didn't feel like it was a marriage anymore.
Right.
So walking away from that took me a few years because he is such a good man and a good person and somebody that I love, but it was not what I wanted in an intimate relationship with somebody. I wanted more
Right.
than what was there. And I wanted more for both of us. So, I gave up the good for the better of the best.
I love that expression. And it's a
Yeah.
testimony to the strength of your spirit to be able to do that,
Yeah.
you know,
I think so too.
to have the courage to step out of the comfortable and the what you know into a place where you can be more fully who you are.
Yes. To be who I'm supposed to be. And,
Right.
supposed to be, but I mean, I believe in destiny. Like, and I don't believe in destiny that it's all like fated and specific,
Right.
but I do believe there's as somebody who loves energy, like being in the energy of living, and energy is science, so it's not an esoteric concept. I explain that to people, like your energy is can be scientifically measured,
Right.
right? So it's when you're in that energy of truth, freedom, like that's when you feel free, when the knots in your belly, your heart start to loosen, right? When you feel that tightness, that physical tightness, it's a story, it's information. So I always try to create a safe place, a container for people to listen to that.
Which is so
So
important.
which is really important. I don't have the answers for anybody.
You don't?
No, I don't. I don't have the answers for anybody. But in my work, creating a safe space, holding a container, being a mirror, like so that they can see themselves through my eyes, allows them then to find what it is they need in the world, where they need to go, or, what it is they want. We don't always have to need things. You know,
And desire.
yeah, desire is beautiful. I always think about the word courage. There was a teacher a long time ago, and I don't know if this is actually true because I never looked it up, but there's the root for the word courage is cur, which means heart.
Art. Yes,
Yeah, okay, so I
that's
am
true.
right. Okay. Yeah, I repeat things sometimes and I'm like, wow, I don't think I've ever verified that, but I've been saying it for 15 years. But if I like it, I don't care, I use it. And um I think it takes a lot of heart in order to step into the life that you desire. So,
Yes,
I believe I know that I'm a deeply courageous person.
you are. And you also create the space for people to step into their courage. But one of the things is in order to be able to step into the world that you desire, you have to become clear or aware about what it is that you desire. I think a lot of people walk around and they have no idea what they desire because they're so busy focusing on what they think they should do and what people expect for them to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a good conversation. And it's funny, we're right in the Lionsgate portal right now, the
Yeah.
manifestation portal, and also on Saturn return, all the mirroring stuff. So you and I talked about this on Saturday when we had breakfast. So um, it's I think it's really important. It's difficult for people because they are always looking outside of themselves for the answers when the answers are really inside of yourself. I taught a yoga class in the park last night, and I talked about this Lionsgate portal, and I said, a ritual can be simply lighting a candle, taking 5 minutes, take a deep breath, and then just write down whatever it is you want right now. You don't have to plan the next 5 years. You don't have to plan the next 5 months. If you start with one sentence, I want, I desire, I am, like, sit down, 5 minutes, set a timer, light a candle, a diffuser, do your incense. Like, it's really like, if you don't have a ritual practice, ritual is just a place that creates that container. I mean, I don't know why I'm using that word too, but here we
What
go.
the hell?
But it creates a container of space that says, I'm worth it. That's all ritual is. It's a
Exactly.
way to create sacred experience in your life. And it doesn't have to be at 3 hours and, banging your head and, dancing around, on your tippy toes and chanting mantras. It doesn't have to be that. It can be. And I think most of us find the things that start to work for us when we take that time, when I take the 5 minutes. It's how I teach meditation too.
Yeah.
If you can't sit, right, for 10, 15, 20 minutes, why can't you try 5? Play your favorite like song then, right? And just sit and listen to it without doing anything else. I do
It's
that
so
with rock and
important.
roll. I know I do it. There's a song by Led Zeppelin um, that I love. What's the song? In the Light. It's one of the most spiritual songs for me. And I think it's like 7 or 8 minutes long. It's back when music was like a whole big story.
A process.
But I can some days when I'm feeling, spicy, as you would like to call me, because I am a little
Spicy.
spicy. That's what I'll do is my meditation practice. I mean, I turn it on, I listen to it, I dance, I sing at the top of my lungs. It frees my soul.
Yeah, I feel like in this day and age, people have gotten away from having those small, it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be a big period of time, but even 5 minutes a day of just sitting and being and listening. However it is that you create that space, listening to music or just using a prompt and journaling or just having some practice of some kind. But we've gotten so far away from that, we like immediately jump to the phones to fill up space,
Right.
time.
I know. And I've even found with myself that I had to like kind of create this new, like, don't pick up your phone, right? Because I use it for everything. And I was starting to found myself picking it up every morning, before I did my meditation. And I've had to stop myself from doing that. I was like, oh my God. Because then I'd put the phone down and then go do my meditation and my ritual.
Right.
But like, why am I looking at the phone? And I have where I can't pick up the phone at night. I'm trying to make this rule where there's an hour before bed that I'm not on my phone.
That's awesome.
So and it's hard because and I don't always do it. So don't everybody like, I have another saying, take my advice, I'm not using it. But there are times when I'm not using my own advice. And I think it's important for people to know that even as spiritual teachers, we are human.
That's right.
We fall short sometimes too, but we always come back. That's why being in this work is really important for me. Um, I didn't know that I would be in this work, like that I would choose this. But as soon as I started a lot of these practices, I just couldn't get away from them. And being in this work forces me to constantly look at myself. I'm
Yeah, which is,
asking you to do something, I got to do it too.
yeah, I find that it keeps me a little more honest than I would be if I wasn't like
It's
doing this work.
accountability. We all need
Yeah,
accountability. I
yeah.
just worked with a mentor for a month, a yoga teacher mentor. I haven't had a yoga teacher in a long time. Um, and he was like, talk about mirror. We didn't talk about my teaching at all. He's like, you know what the fuck you're doing, like, what about your business? Where are you acting small? And I was like, damn it, you know? And if you're one of those people that's like, really more work? Yep,
Exactly. Yes. There's always more work. Isn't that fun?
it is fun. And there's always more play.
Yeah.
So the work creates more play, and the work is the play because it's the playing with this, like, how do I feel about myself? Why am I playing small in this area of my life when I
Right.
made a big decision in this area of my life?
Uh-huh.
Right there. So trying to mirror those two things, right?
Yeah.
I was strong and walked away from a relationship that was very difficult to leave. Nothing bad happened,
Right.
you know,
Nothing bad
but
had to happen.
yeah, nothing
In
bad
order,
has to happen in order for you to make a change. I don't have to make a change in my business if I don't want to, but if I really want to step into my power as a teacher and a leader and a holder of space, then that's what I need to do.
right.
And that is what I desire, and I know that. So if you desire it, you got to do the work to get there.
Exactly. Be careful that can of worms that you open up.
I know. Some days it's like I tell people when they start, when they work with me or come to me for advice, I say the spiritual path can be lonely at times.
Hmm.
It can be difficult and it can be sad. But it is always worth it. It's never once in my life has it not been worth it. And once you know, you can't not know.
Right.
That's the other thing. So once you start, just know.
Just know. So, what's a message that you wish that everyone could know?
Gosh. What is a message I wish everyone could know? You are perfect exactly as you are.
Mm, I love that.
I know it's like something I feel a little choked up because I think everybody needs to hear that. It's not what you don't become something else. You just become who you are.
You become more of who you are.
Yeah, more of who you are and that's why I think the wall analogy works because it's what's holding that part of you in, right? And so when you start to take the wall down, right, it starts right in the mind. It moves into the throat, you start to voice it, like if we talk about chakras, and then the heart begins to open. And then, right, like all your needs, like the lower region of the chakra system is all about kind of like that, oh, now, right, all of my needs can be met. And it doesn't always work that way, but I think slowly, like we're easier because we live in a cerebral society. So I think if you start, because most, like, they'll say, and I'll say this in the reverse, like you do need to feel safe first, right? So that comes more
That's
from the
true.
lower chakras, but then, right? So we're putting you here. And then the work is, okay, I can see that. I can like understand, right? I can see how that would happen. And then you start to open everything up. So I would say, yeah, once you feel safe, right, you can take that first brick down. And then you can start to see and think your way in. But I mean, once I accepted that, like exactly how I am today is the way that I'm meant to be today, um, everything else is cake. Because like when you accept yourself, there's nothing more powerful or more beautiful. You don't need other people to accept you any longer.
Right. And that whole, I love the metaphor of the brick wall, like taking down the bricks, because we often put up those bricks to protect ourselves, but they also prevent us from being seen and being
Yes,
heard.
exactly. Yes. Oh no, I built my wall and it was high. You know, I often think I love music, and it's funny when you think about like, Pink Floyd, The Wall, Mother, did
Yeah,
it need to be so high, you know?
yeah,
And the way that we protect ourselves. And listen, I had to protect myself. I will never, um, it's funny, people are like, regrets, regrets. It's like if I changed one thing, I wouldn't be who I am now. So
that's right. Where you stand in your perfection.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, those walls are how we survived.
they really are. They really, really are. And they worked until they didn't.
Exactly.
And I think like just kind of to do the full circle thing, that's where you start to find the practices. Like, what's the first thing I need? For a lot of people, if you've experienced trauma, working with a professional, right? I usually say
Absolutely.
to people, you might need therapy first before you're ready to dive into, right, a deeper spiritual realm with Reiki, meditation, spiritual counseling, whatever it is that you want to do. Or you can do both, but you might need to have somebody professional first, like a therapist, psychologist. Some people need medication, right?
Yep,
It's a
absolutely.
chemical, I don't diagnose. I'm not a doctor, but I'm always open to somebody else's journey. And
Yeah.
I listen and I help them find their intuition to help them find their way. And I'm not always the answer,
Of
right?
course
I
not.
might not be the right teacher for you. And that's great. Like, you might, it's just the same thing like the people I work with, or I don't think teachers aren't good because I'm not working with them. They're just not I'm not heart-centered connected to them. Like
That's
that's
right.
one of the beautiful things that I know. Now it's much easier for me to find people to work with because I'm much clearer on who I am and what it is I want.
And what you need, yeah,
Yeah,
for
and what
sure.
I need. Yeah. So, but it takes time, like that discernment takes time and you develop a gut instinct, right? The belly brain, as I like to call it.
The belly brain, I love
And
that.
you have to listen to that. And that came from one of my teachers, one of my yoga and writing teachers. So when she said that, I was like the belly brain. I
The
was like,
belly brain, I
ooh,
think that's
yeah,
great.
right. I mean, right. Doesn't it just fire up when I say that? You're like, oh, there is a little conversation going on down there, isn't there? And we tend to ignore it, fill it up with different things,
Yeah,
right? So, but you'll usually know like when you're listening to the belly brain.
yeah, I love that. So how do people work with you?
Um, so I mean, I'm kind of in this like weird place, but I'm mostly on Instagram. I do have a website, vickycook.com, but it needs to be updated, which I'm working on. But right now I see clients for Reiki. I can work out of the yoga studio or in home. I teach yoga. I teach public classes. I do privates. You can reach me on Instagram, Vicky Cook Yoga. Yeah, and I'm creating these workshops. I do yoga with sound healing. I work with Larry Nardi, another member of TLC Network. So I'll give him a little shout
Whoop,
out from
whoop.
Intune Harmonics. We create this beautiful experience. We celebrate the equinox and solstice and use it as a gateway into deeper healing and transitioning through season. That's another way I love to utilize nature. I am going to be hosting a day retreat called Explore and Restore in the fall. Those flyers and that information will be up. I'll be getting those out on Instagram and onto my website over the next couple weeks. So, yeah, but reach out to me, Vicky Cook Yoga. You can email me through my website, vickycook.com. Honestly, guys, I will tell you it hasn't been updated. And my schedule's a little different on there, and that's
It's
all like,
okay. It's a
yeah,
billboard.
It is. It's a billboard, but just so you know, like I am, that's kind of why I hired this mentor and was working with them. And that's how Beth and I reconnected. Beth and I are going to be doing a spring retreat
A spring
in Rhode
retreat.
Island, a weekend long um, heart stories retreat. We do writing, yoga, tarot, all homemade food made by yours truly. I love to cook. I will be making the food for my day retreat. Food is a way
Awesome.
that food is like healing for me. And it's the way I like to love people. So I
You're
cook
a good
really
lover.
well and really simple meals.
You are a
So
very good
yeah.
lover,
So
a
yeah,
wife of
vickycook.com,
people.
Vicky Cook Yoga on Instagram. I would say those are the easiest ways. DM me, email me.
Awesome. I'm super excited about our spring retreat and I just adore you. I adore your ability to be a badass and a spiritual person all at the same time.
Yeah, I think we all have to embrace who we are. And
Yeah.
just to close, I would say I denied that part of myself when I started the spiritual journey. I was trying not to swear. I was trying to deny kind of like, I'm a street urchin,
You're
you
a
know?
street urchin. You're a beautiful street
I
urchin.
am a beautiful street urchin, but I grew up, like very badass, and I definitely have, that edge to me. But it's part of who I am, and now I embrace it and I bring it into the way that I teach.
And you
People want
influence
you.
people with all of who you are.
Yes.
So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's how I mirror for them. You be who you are.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vicky. It's
You're
always a
welcome,
delight to
Beth.
be with you.
It's always
Everybody's
great to be with you.
everybody stay tuned and thank you.